So who is a slow learning child? A slow learning child is a child that hits his developmental markers at a much slower rate as compared to his peers. Hello everyone, this is Chichi Dagogo Wariso, aka Blossom's Corner, your favorite family and parenting coach, and I want to welcome you to another wonderful session of Blossom's Corner. Thank you for being here, for watching, for listening, for viewing, for liking, for commenting, for sharing. Thank you everyone for the words of encouragement. I'm so grateful. That has really pumped up the spirit to continue to churn out more lovely content. Today we're going to be talking about a very important and delicate topic that so many mothers would desire, or families, parents would desire help for. And it's our job to come together to learn our parenting experiences, parenting goals, parenting obstacles and hurdles, and try to cross each and every one of them together, hand in hand, back to back, side by side, together. So today we're going to be talking about dealing with a slow learning child. We're looking at the challenges of a slow learning child and the tips to help. The joy of every parent is to see his or her child do very well in school, but it can be very discouraging and disturbing when that child is not as fast as his peers. And it's not right to force a child to learn more than he can assimilate. This is because sometimes teachers in school might not have the time to handle that child, might not be able to give that child the specific attention that he or she requires, and because it takes time and patience to get through to the child. Sometimes the teachers might actually have a limited time, and they have a large syllabus to cover. The class might be overcrowded, so they might not be able to attend to that child the way the child desires or is required to learn and assimilate. Now, no slow learning child improved amid peer comparison and condemnation. So please, being harsh to them can actually trigger low self-esteem in them and actually can cause them to shut down or even blank out completely. Slow learning is actually not a permanent feature and can be tackled both at home and in school. So it takes both the effort of the parents at home, those that live with the child at home, and also the school environment for the school owners, teachers who are also listening and watching to help slow learning children. They need special classes with one-on-one teaching to be able to give them tailor-made teaching practices to them so that they can actually understand. Now, don't say because a child is a slow learner, you're going to stop him or her from playing. No, please allow them to engage in their normal play activity, but they should have a very, very judicious study time so that at least if a normal learning child plays for 2 hours, that child should be able to play for maybe 1 hour and then put in 1 hour extra into study. Right? And every effort made towards improvement should please be applauded. Now, some kids learn in 3 different ways. Some are visual learners, so they learn better by what they see. Others are auditory learners. They learn better by what they hear. Those are the ones that learn more with audiobooks. These visual learners are the ones that learn more with like educational cartoons, visual stories, okay? And then there are some that need to be involved in a task. Those ones are called kinesthetic learners. So we need to try and study your children or your child and understand them in that way, and it will help you to know how to teach them, and also help you to understand why they behave the way they behave and how they're able to assimilate. So who is a slow learning child? A slow learning child is a child that hits his developmental markers at a much slower rate as compared to his peers. It's actually misunderstood as that these children are merely dumb or that they are complete failures. But the truth is that every child has his or her own pace to learn and develop. Some naturally learn faster, while others are known to take their time but learn with the same concepts and lessons. So even with walking, even with talking, some children don't get to speak on time. Some children don't get to walk until after their first birthdays. Some children stop breast milk at 7-8 months. Some still are on the breast till a year plus. So children actually develop at different times they take their time in their developmental process, but that doesn't mean that they are any less from the other children. Now, what are the characteristics of a slow learning child? A slow learning child is one that struggles to hit basic developmental milestones and can be categorized into four groups: developmental, social, personal, and educational. So, under developmental, the characteristics of a child with developmental learning disorders include poor memory, delay in speech and language development patterns. That means that your child will take longer, like I said earlier, to start speaking than others and may need more prolonged and repetitive lessons to learn most concepts. For a child who has social learning disabilities, that child is usually known to relate to children younger than his age. They always avoid interacting with their own peers. They tend to associate more with younger children, right? They are also prone to behaviors that are associated with children younger than their ages. Those children are often just labeled introverts due to their inability to connect with their peers, making them quieter and more reserved. So sometimes you might see your 8-year-old one liking to play with 5-year-olds, liking to do things with that 5-year-olds do, and you might just say, why are you so stupid? Why won't you grow up? No, that child is just socially disadvantaged at that point in time. He has a slow social developmental stage, and that is perfectly fine. He's going to outgrow it. And then number 3, we have personal. So children with personal learning problems seem to have less control over their emotions. They tend to fall back to anger quickly. They get frustrated a lot, and then they actually express anger, emotions like anxiety, and they get depressed easily over minor setbacks. So maybe the child is playing with his friends and he fails or he doesn't do so well. He gets so angry, he takes it very personally. He's just having personal learning problems and will also outgrow it. But most times these children, especially, it can actually affect their self-esteem, their confidence, and they're actually prone to aggression or emotional instability. So they need to be, if you understand your child with this kind of personality, you as a parent should, as again, be creative as to how to help them to come out of that personal learning problem. And then finally, we have educational disability. So children with learning or educational disability take a longer process to understand the information provided to them. They may be proficient in intellectual knowledge, but it takes them time to understand and grasp the concept. So they can understand when you say 1 plus 1 is 2, they can say that. But when you write it on the paper, 1 plus 1, they get lost. That is a child with an educational disability, and it is also fine. He or she will outgrow it. Now, what causes slow learning? Most parents might wonder why some children are slow learners, but the truth is there is no clear answer. Although there are some underlying reasons that can be the main causes, and these causes may not be specific to your child. What are the causes? Trauma. A child that has maybe gone through trauma in his childhood can actually lead to a delay in his development, right? So trauma of any nature, psychological, physical, emotional, can actually have that kind of impact on the children. Another reason again is premature birth, because your child might just have a slower rate of brain development. Then medical. So another cause for learning issues can actually be medical. Diseases of the brain or nervous system can actually be a problem, while the child would not hit his learning milestones as at when due. And even though some of them can be treatable, but the ones that are not treatable can also be managed. And finally, pampering. This is a major cause for learning delays, because some parents, like I said in my video yesterday, some parents actually are the ones that push their children to the point of being spoiled. So you might pamper your child so much so that the child now doesn't do what he's supposed to do. You always keep him around. You might want to still keep pampering an 8-year-old. Oh, he's a baby, he shouldn't do this, he shouldn't play with this, and that kind of makes the child become comfortable in that particular age bracket where you kind of have put the child. Okay. What are the challenges that a slow learning child experiences? So, a child diagnosed as a slow learner may face a lot of challenges in his life. They may struggle to keep up with their peers, find it difficult to stay motivated while learning, go through many bouts of depression and anxiety, or struggle to communicate and build connections with people. To understand the possible challenges that our children may face as slow learners, you need to talk to a slow learning and developmental specialist, right? So when you understand the fact that your child is a slow learner, as usual, seek help, because it's not something you can do on your own. It's not something you will say, okay, he needs to take medication. Please seek help. There are specialists that have been trained to handle this kind of low grade mental health problems or mental developmental problems. How do we help and handle a slow learner? There are so many ways to help a child who is a slow learner, and these ones kind of have been proven to help the children one way or another. So, motivation, learn to praise them. Like I said earlier, for every effort made towards improvement, learn to praise them. Help continue the learning and keep them motivated. Praise them whenever they get a concept or a technique. So if you've been struggling to teach your child maybe the multiplication table as little as the 2 times, and your child is able to take his time, put in the effort to memorize, even if it's up to 2 times 10, please give that child a major thumbs up, because he was actually very determined. He didn't want to disappoint both you and himself or herself, and they put in that effort. So encourage that effort so that it will keep them moving forward. Secondly, reward them. Any child that is a slow learner will be motivated to stay on course and learn if there is a reward at the end of it. Try setting rewards for milestones to keep your child focused. So if you tell him, okay, if you can do up to 3 times table, I'm going to buy you a bar of chocolate. And if he actually does it, remember, like I said yesterday, do whatever it is you say. Say what you will do and do what you say. So if you say you're going to do this for that child and the child puts in that effort to achieve that milestone, please, moms and dads, carers, uncles and aunties, teachers, please give them whatever reward it is. If not, you tend to deflate the morale, the enthusiasm that they used to go in, and it might affect them negatively. Then thirdly, give them smaller targets. So don't tell them in the multiplication table, don't tell them to do 2 to 10. That's a lot. Let's take it in phases. So if they're able to master the 2 times, let them do the 3 times. And once they are very conversant with both 2 and 3 times, then you can take it 4 or 5. That way, the child would understand it within their own limits. So you give them inch sizes instead of mile sizes, right? So when you're working with a child with who is a slow learner, it's important to set small targets that are achievable and within reach. And it is your responsibility as a parent to understand what is achievable for your child. Again, make your child understand that failure isn't bad. Failure is only a stepping stone. That thing that seemed as a stumbling block, let them know that it actually can also be a stepping stone for greater heights. So reinforce that notion that failure is not bad. Be realistic with your teachers and their caregivers, as well as yourself, that your child will fail more often than other children. And when they do, please don't berate that child. When your child fails, have it at the back of your mind that my child is a slow learner. So if others are getting 80 and 90, even if I get a 40, I'll be very happy. So if your child eventually falls short from 40 and maybe gets a 30 or a 35, don't berate that child. Still encourage that child. Let that child know that you love him, you are with him all the way, you're going to encourage him, and very soon you can't wait for him to be hitting the 80s. Okay? Don't berate that child. Encourage the child to try again. Then again, be open to the caregivers, whoever it is that is taking care of the child, the nanny, the teacher, or even yourself, right? Or your whoever it is that is taking care of that child. Let them understand the child's struggle so that they don't keep pushing the child and giving the child on unachievable targets or unachievable limits. Let them understand the situation and educate the child on how to push forward. Let the person know that this is this child's situation and this is how to handle it. The person can also even come up with his or her own pattern or model that will help boost that child's learning ability. Be patient with the child. Don't compare them with other children. When we were growing up, we fell victim for this. Our parents did this a lot. Those of us that were born in the 70s and the 80s and maybe early 90s, our parents did this comparison thing a lot, and it demoralized some people, some of us. It encouraged us, depending on how you understood it or you took it. So please don't compare them with other children. It will demotivate them. Stay patient when working with them. Even though they don't hit that milestone in front of them, even though they do it at the slowest rate, even though they learn the 2 times table within 2 weeks, please be patient. You have to build patience. When you if you are blessed with a child who is a slow learner, you have to ask God for patience to be able to handle that child. Ask God for the grace to be able to teach that child. Ask God for the determination to be able to help that child to come out of that phase. Make sure you don't lose your patience and scream. This will only worsen the situation. Keep space for aids, whether it is post-it notes, reminders, calendars, or calculators, but keep room for visual and auditory aids when working with your child, so they can actually be beneficial. Sometimes you might have to use the calculator. If the child is not understanding 1 plus 1, you can maybe use colorful paper to do it. Look for ways, be creative, but you don't have to be stuck up on pen and paper. So if they don't understand it with pen and paper, you can maybe get toys, you can maybe get broomsticks, you can maybe get toothpick, you can maybe get matches and say, okay, this is 5 plus 2 is this, and then look for how to let the child understand it in different ways. You will see that it might not be so clear on paper, but by the time you are descriptive, by the time you use those aids to help the child's learning, the child will understand it faster because he can actually visualize it, or he can actually hear it instead of just seeing it as numbers. Be supportive, be vocally supportive. It is very, 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 very important. Encourage your child until they succeed. Let them know that you believe in them. It will keep them motivated to keep learning and trying. So no matter how difficult, tell that child, I love you, I'm behind you, we're going to go through together. Don't think you are alone, I'm here with you. Bring yourself to that child's level. Even if he doesn't get it at first, come down to his level. Put yourself in his or her shoes, and it will help you to move on with the child. It will help you to push the child. It will help you to get the child to the point where you or you want him or her to be. And then finally, there's some scenarios or some questions about slow learning children, right? There are some comparisons, there are some assumptions that people have when you talk about a child who is a slow learner, and we're going to discuss 3 of them. So the first one is, how are slow learners different from those who have learning disability? Now, a learning disability is a psychological condition that prevents a child from learning in the same way as others. They can still learn at the same pace as their peers if they are taught in a different manner. For instance, a child with dyslexia can learn as fast as any other child, but instead of reading, let them be read to. So a dyslexic child can do everything normally, but when they can't read, but if they are read to, or if they listen to audiobooks, then they understand as a normal child who can read it on paper. But slow learning children have a problem keeping up with their peers due to the inability to grasp a concept or understand what is taught. They have developmental issues, whereas children with learning disabilities do not have a developmental issue. So a child with a learning disability is more or less like that's the child's nature, while a slow learner is actually a developmental phase, and they will most likely outgrow it. If they are taught and managed properly, and you're able to speed them up, you will actually see some level of progress. While a child with a learning disability, there might not be any progress. It might just be a problem that has to be managed all of their lives. They just have to walk around it. Okay? Secondly, is slow learning and ADHD the same? ADHD is an issue that is focused on attention retention. Slow learners struggle to hit learning milestones due to the inability to grab information quickly. A child with ADHD just has a problem with being attentive. Not that he cannot understand, but they just don't know how to. They are deficient of attention. They don't know how to sit still and grab whatever it is. A child with learning disabilities is learning it at a very slow pace. So he doesn't have the problem of attention, but he has a problem of understanding. So slow learning and ADHD are not the same. And then finally, does slow learning mean autism? Is a slow learning child also called an autistic child? No. Autism is a condition where the child does not identify with social interactions and norms. Slow learning may be a symptom, but not all slow learners have autism. Slow learning may be a symptom of autism, but not all slow learners have autism. It is very essential to remember that a child should never be self-diagnosed as a slow learner. If you think your child may have trouble learning, contact your GP or your doctor and have them tested to be sure of their condition. I hope we have learned a thing or two in this video. I understand with parents who are autistic, parents who have children that are autistic, parents who have children who have ADHD and learning disabilities, and everybody wants a way out. Everybody wants normalcy for their child. But a child with a slow learning child is just a child who doesn't assimilate information as quickly as his peers. He's perfectly normal. There's absolutely nothing wrong with him. It's just that he takes things at a slower rate, right? It's just like how we have cars, we have power bikes, we have motorbikes, we have bicycles. So you can say they are all wheels, they all move on the road, but a slow learning child you can compare a slow learning child with maybe a bicycle and a motorbike. So a slow learning child is one who is riding at a bicycle rate. Yes, you can be fast, but you can never be as fast as one who is on a motorbike. And one who is on a motorbike can never be as fast as one who is on a power bike. They are all two-wheelers, but they all have different speeds. They move in the same direction. They don't move in a zigzag direction. They all move in a straight line. But if you put three of them in a race, of course, the power bike will get there first, then the motorbike, and then the bicycle will also come at his own time. That's exactly that's one illustration I can give so you understand what we're talking about slow learners and normal learning children. Thank you very much for watching this video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share, hit that notification bell so that you will get notified when next we are online. Thank you so much. This is Chichi Dagogo Wariso, your favorite parenting and family coach, and we are signing out.